The war begins in a distant galaxy on a planet called Xandor. The alien Princess Ariella stood on the edge of a great cliff. Her eyes looked over the burning city below. The city was once full of life, but now it was a battlefield. Smoke rose from the buildings and the sounds of fighting echoed all around. Ariella was not just any alien. She was the princess of her people, strong and proud. She wore a silver crown that shined even in the dark sky. Her heart was filled with pain and anger. The humans had destroyed her home, taken her family, and started a terrible war. She promised herself one thing: to kill every human she could find. The war between the aliens and humans had lasted for many years. It began when humans came to Xandor, looking for new planets to live on. At first, the aliens tried to talk and find peace, but humans were greedy and wanted to take the planet's resources. Soon, the fighting began. Ariella's father, the king, led the alien army. He was a brave leader, but even he could not stop the humans. One day during a big battle, Ariella lost her younger brother. He was only 10 years old. The pain was too much for her. She swore she would never forgive the humans. "They will pay for what they have done," she whispered, her voice cold and strong. Ariella trained every day to become a better fighter. She learned how to use laser swords, fly alien ships, and lead soldiers into battle. Her soldiers looked up to her. They believed in her promise to end the war. One evening, as the sun set behind the mountains, Ariella met with her top generals. They planned a big attack to take control of the human base. This attack would decide the future of the war. If they won, the aliens could take back their planet. If they lost, everything would be lost. "We must be careful," said General Karan, a tall alien with green skin and sharp eyes. "The humans have new weapons and they fight like wild beasts." "I don't care how strong they are," said Ariella. "We fight for our home and our families. Tonight we end this war." The soldiers prepared for battle. The alien ships flew low through the dark sky. The ground troops hid behind rocks and trees, waiting for the signal. Ariella's heart beat fast. She was not just fighting for herself, but for every alien who lost someone in this war. She remembered her brother's smile and the way he loved to play near the rivers. The signal came. A bright red flare shot into the sky. It was time. The battle started with loud explosions and flashing lights. Lasers flew everywhere. Ariella led her soldiers from the front, moving quickly and striking with skill. The humans were strong, but the aliens had the advantage of knowing the land. In the middle of the fight, Ariella saw something unexpected. A human soldier was carrying a small alien child. The child looked scared and hurt. The human soldier was running away from the battle, protecting the child from danger. Ariella stopped for a moment. This was not what she expected. She wanted to attack the humans, but now she saw one who was helping her people. Why would a human save an alien child? She wondered, confused. The battle raged on, but Ariella could not forget the human soldier's face. He looked brave and kind, not like the enemies she always saw. Suddenly, a loud explosion shook the ground. Ariella was thrown back, but quickly got up. She saw her soldiers falling, and the humans were fighting harder than ever. The battle was not over. Ariella knew she had to be strong, for her people and for the promise she made. As the night grew darker, Ariella stood on the battlefield, looking at the stars above. She whispered to herself, "I will end this war, no matter what." But deep, inside, a small seed of doubt began to grow. Could there be more to this war than just hate and revenge? Only time would tell. The battle for survival, the war between aliens and humans, was not just a fight. It was a fight for survival. The ground shook with the sound of explosions. Fires burned brightly, lighting up the dark sky like giant stars. Every moment was full of danger, fear, and hope. Princess Ariella stood among her soldiers. Her silver armor was scratched and dusty. Her eyes burned with determination. She knew this battle could decide everything: the future of her people, the future of the planet Xandor, and maybe even her own fate. The humans had built strong defenses. Thick walls of metal, giant machines that roared and fired powerful lasers. The alien soldiers tried to break through, but every step forward cost them dearly. Screams and cries filled the air. Near the edge of the battlefield, a small alien child, named Leora, was hiding behind broken stones. Her small hands trembled and tears ran down her face. She was alone and scared. Her parents had died in the early attacks. All she had now was hope. A human soldier named Mark saw the child. He was not like the others. He did not want to kill aliens. Mark believed that every life mattered, no matter what planet they came from. Without thinking twice, Mark ran toward Leora. Bullets flew past him and lasers zipped through the air, but he did not stop. He reached the child and wrapped his arms around her, shielding her from danger. Ariella noticed this from a distance. Her heart skipped a beat. This was not what she expected in a human. She saw kindness and bravery in Mark's actions. Why is he helping her, she thought. Could a human really care for one of us? The battle raged on, but the scene between Mark and Leora stayed in Ariella's mind. She wanted to stop and watch more, but she could not. Her soldiers were counting on her. Suddenly, a loud explosion tore through the air. One of Ariella's closest friends, General Karan, was hit. He fell to the ground, badly wounded. "Retreat!" shouted Karan weakly, blood dripping from his mouth. "Don't let them break through." Ariella knew she had to act fast. She gave orders to regroup and protect the wounded. The humans were pushing hard and the aliens were losing ground. In the chaos, Ariella saw Mark again. He was carrying Leora, running through the battlefield as if nothing could stop him. Ariella's soldiers shouted at her to attack the human, but she hesitated. The princess felt a strange pull in her heart. Could this human be different? Was there a chance for peace? As Mark moved closer, one of Ariella's soldiers fired a laser. The beam went right past Mark and hit a nearby tree, setting it on fire. Mark looked up, surprised but still running. Then something unexpected happened. Ariella shouted, "Stop!" Her soldiers froze. She raised her hand and said, "Let him go." The soldiers looked confused but obeyed. Ariella walked forward slowly toward Mark and the child. Mark stopped too, surprised to see the alien princess coming toward him without anger or hate. "Why are you saving her?" Ariella asked quietly, pointing at Leora. Mark looked into Ariella's eyes. "Because every child deserves a chance to live, no matter what." Ariella felt a strange warmth inside. She remembered her brother, the smile she lost and the pain she carried every day. Maybe this war is not just about killing, she thought. Maybe there is more we don't see. But before they could say more, an explosion nearby shook the ground. Enemy forces were coming fast. The moment of peace was gone. "We must fight," Ariella shouted. "Protect the child at all costs." Mark nodded, ready to stand beside her. The alien princess and the human soldier fought back to back, protecting Leora from danger. The battle was fierce. Lasers, screams, and explosions filled the air. The ground was cracked and burning, but neither Ariella nor Mark gave up. At one point, Ariella saw a group of humans ready to attack Mark. Without hesitation, she threw herself in front of him and took the hit. Pain shot through her body, but she did not fall. Mark helped her up. "Thank you," he said quietly. Ariella smiled through the pain. "We are stronger together." As the night fell, the battle slowed. Both sides were tired and hurt. Ariella and Mark looked at each other, understanding that this fight was bigger than just their people. It was about trust, hope, and a future none of them had imagined. But the war was not over. Danger still lurked in the shadows, and the choices they made tonight would change everything. A hero emerges. The battlefield was quiet now, but only for a moment. Beneath the silence, the storm was still brewing. The war between aliens and humans had reached a dangerous turning point. No one knew what would happen next, but Princess Ariella's heart was heavy with questions. Mark, the human soldier who had saved the alien child Leora, was no ordinary fighter. From the moment he risked his life for the child, something had changed in the war. Whispers spread through both armies about the strange bond forming between Ariella and Mark. Ariella watched Mark closely. She saw his bravery and kindness, but she also saw the pain behind his eyes. He was a soldier, yes, but he fought with more than just weapons. He fought with hope. One night, while the stars shone above the ruined city, Ariella quietly left her camp. She wanted to meet Mark in secret. She needed answers. Could this human really be different? Could he be the key to ending the war? She found Mark sitting near a small fire watching over Leora, who slept peacefully in his arms. Mark looked tired but calm. When he saw Ariella, his hand went to his weapon. Then he lowered it, seeing no threat in her eyes. "Why are you here?" Mark asked softly. "I want to understand," Ariella replied. "Why did you save Leora? Why do you risk your life for an alien child?" Mark looked into the princess's eyes and told her a story about his family, about loss, and about a promise he made long ago to protect those who could not protect themselves. "I lost my little sister in another war," he said. "I promised her I would never let anyone suffer like she did. When I saw Leora, I saw a chance to keep that promise." Ariella felt a strange warmth inside her chest. She never thought a human could feel so deeply. But she also knew that trust was fragile. One wrong step and everything could fall apart. "You're brave," she said quietly. "But do your people feel the same? Will they accept peace, or will they keep fighting?" Mark looked down, pain crossing his face. "Some want peace, some want war. I don't know which will win." Just then, a sharp noise cut through the night, the sound of footsteps and whispers. Ariella and Mark quickly hid behind rocks. Two figures approached, talking in low voices. "The princess is meeting with that human again," one voice said. "We can't let this happen. She's breaking our laws. If the others find out, they will kill her," the other voice warned. Ariella's heart raced. The threat was real. Enemies were closer than she thought. She had to be careful. "We need to warn the others," Mark whispered. "But we must be secretive. Trust is everything now." Over the next days, Ariella and Mark worked together in silence, sharing information and planning. They talked about the future, a future where aliens and humans could live without fear. But the war was not ready to end. Other alien leaders saw Ariella's actions as betrayal. They sent spies and soldiers to watch her every move. Rumors spread that the princess was weak and dangerous. One day, during a secret meeting, Ariella was ambushed. Surrounded by angry alien soldiers, she faced her toughest test. "Traitor," shouted one general. "You side with the enemy. How can you betray your people?" Ariella stood tall, her voice strong. "I fight for my people's future, not for endless war. If we continue this path, we will all be destroyed." The soldiers hesitated. Some lowered their weapons, unsure what to do. In that moment, Mark appeared with a small group of human soldiers. They did not come to fight but to protect. "Peace is possible," Mark said loudly. "We stand with the princess." A tense silence filled the air. The war could explode again with one wrong move. Ariella looked at Mark, hope shining in her eyes. But she also knew that their fight was far from over. Deep in the shadows, someone watched. A hidden enemy was planning to destroy their fragile alliance. A single act of betrayal could turn everything into chaos. As the stars faded and dawn approached, Ariella whispered a promise to herself. She would protect the child, the human who showed her mercy, and the hope for peace, no matter the cost. But would that promise be enough? The unexpected mercy, the war had reached a dangerous crossroads. Princess Ariella stood alone on the battlefield at dawn, her heart heavy with pain and questions. Around her, the silence felt strange, as if the planet itself was holding its breath. The fighting had paused, but the real battle was inside her. Days earlier, Ariella had faced a choice that no warrior ever wants to make. During a fierce fight, she had seen a human soldier, Mark, risking his life to save a small alien child, Leora. The memory of that moment stayed with her like a flame refusing to die. Ariella's soldiers demanded revenge. "Kill the humans who threaten us!" they shouted. But inside Ariella, something was changing. One evening, as the sun set behind the dark mountains, Ariella found herself standing before Mark and Leora in the quiet ruins of an old temple. Her silver armor was scratched, and her body ached from battle. Mark looked tired, but his eyes held a steady calm. "Why do you protect her?" Ariella asked quietly, nodding toward Leora. "She is one of us." Mark's voice was soft but firm. "Because no child should suffer from the hate of adults. Peace starts with protecting the innocent." Ariella looked away, her mind filled with memories, the laughter of her lost brother, the pain of her family torn apart. Hatred had been her weapon for so long, but now it felt heavy, like a chain around her heart. "If I spare you," Ariella said slowly, "will you stop the war?" Mark shook his head. "I can't promise that, but maybe we can find a way to stop it together." The silence stretched between them. Ariella's soldiers watched from a distance, eyes filled with suspicion and anger. Many had lost everything, to humans. To them, mercy was weakness. That night, Ariella made a decision no one expected. She called her generals and announced she would not attack the human base. Instead, she offered a truce, a chance to talk, to find peace. Her announcement shocked everyone. Some soldiers whispered that she was a traitor. Others wondered if the princess had lost her mind. But Ariella stood firm. She had seen mercy in Mark's actions. She had felt the first spark of hope in years. Yet danger lurked nearby. In the shadows, enemies watched. Spies sent by alien leaders, who hated peace, reported every move. Whispers of rebellion grew louder. "She must be stopped," one voice hissed. "If she destroys the war, we lose everything." A secret meeting was held by those who wanted the war to continue. They planned to capture Ariella, to end her mercy before it could spread. As the truce talks began, the tension was thick. Humans and aliens faced each other with distrust and fear, but Ariella and Mark stood together, ready to speak for a better future. The first words were hard. Anger and pain filled the room. But slowly, as stories were shared, something changed. Old enemies saw each other as beings with hopes and fears, not just enemies to kill. Just when it seemed peace might bloom, an explosion shook the meeting hall. Chaos erupted. The secret plan to stop the truce had begun. Ariella shielded Leora, pulling her close. Mark fought off attackers, protecting the innocent. In the chaos, Ariella saw a familiar face, a trusted general turning against her, betrayal clear in his eyes. "This ends now," the general snarled. "You will pay for your mercy." Ariella's heart pounded. Betrayal was the deadliest enemy. The fight was fierce and fast. But in the midst of battle, Ariella did something unexpected. She spared her betrayer's life. "Mercy is not weakness," she said loudly. "It is our greatest strength." Her soldiers hesitated, then lowered their weapons. The message was clear. The war could end if they chose. As dawn broke, the battlefield was silent again. The war was far from over, but a new path had begun, one built on mercy, courage, and hope. Ariella looked at Mark and Leora, feeling a new promise grow inside her. "This is only the beginning," she whispered. But deep in the shadows, enemies still planned. The road to peace was full of danger, and Ariella's mercy might cost her everything. The promise breaks. The sun rose slowly over the scarred land of Zandor, casting long shadows across the battlefield. The air was thick with tension. Princess Ariella stood on a rocky hill, her silver armor dull from battle and weariness. The choice she had made, to show mercy, had shaken the foundation of everything she knew. Her promise, once clear and fierce, now felt fragile, like glass waiting to shatter. Ariella's people were divided. Some believed in her vision of peace, but many saw her mercy as betrayal. Whispers filled the camps. Words like weakness and traitor were spoken behind her back. Soldiers who once followed her without question now doubted. One night, Ariella gathered her closest allies. The room was heavy with worry. "Our enemies are not just humans," she said quietly. "Some of our own want to destroy what we are building." General Karan, still recovering from his wounds, nodded slowly. They fear change, princess. They want war, not peace. Then we must be stronger than fear, Ariella replied. We fight for a future where our children do not have to suffer. But danger was closer than she thought. In the shadows, a secret plan was forming. A plan to break the promise Ariella had made to spare the humans and their allies. One night, the camp slept, a group of rebels attacked. They wanted to capture Ariella and end her mercy forever. Ariella was warned just in time. With Mark and a few loyal soldiers, she fought through the darkness. Lasers flashed, and the ground shook with explosions. In the middle of the chaos, Ariella was cornered by the rebel leader, a cold, fierce alien named Varric. His eyes burned with hatred. "You have betrayed us all," Varric hissed. "Your mercy will destroy our people." "No," Ariella said, standing tall despite the fear in her chest. "Mercy will save us." Varric raised his weapon, but before he could fire, Mark stepped forward, blocking the shot. "She is not your enemy," Mark said firmly. "We fight together, or we die alone." The rebels hesitated, and in that moment, Ariella seized her chance. She disarmed Varric and spoke to the crowd. "Look around you," she said. "This war is not our future. Hate is our enemy, not each other." Slowly, some rebels lowered their weapons, but many still looked angry and scared. Ariella knew the road ahead was dangerous. Her promise had broken old bonds and created new enemies. The very soldiers who once cheered her now whispered plots against her. Trust was a fragile thread, and it threatened to snap. In the following days, Ariella worked to rebuild trust. She met secretly with humans and aliens alike, sharing her vision of peace. Mark stood by her side, a constant reminder that courage and mercy could exist together. Yet one night, a message arrived, a warning from a spy inside the rebel group. The rebels planned to kidnap Leora, the alien child who had become the symbol of hope. Ariella's heart raced. Losing Leora would destroy everything. She gathered her loyal soldiers and prepared to protect the child at all costs. As they waited, in the dark forest near the camp, shadows moved silently. Ariella's grip tightened on her sword. The rebels appeared suddenly, fast and fierce. A fierce fight began, lasers and swords clashing under the moonlight. Ariella and Mark fought side by side, protecting Leora with every ounce of strength. But the battle was not just about weapons. It was about faith, trust, and the future of two worlds. As the last rebel fell, Ariella looked down at Leora sleeping safely in Mark's arms. She felt a surge of hope and fear. "This promise," she whispered, "will change everything. But will it be enough?" Far away, new threats were rising. Enemies who would not stop until the war returned, with a fury greater than ever before. Ariella knew one thing for sure. Her promise had broken old ways, but it had also opened a door to something new. A chance for mercy to win in a war built on hate. A new alliance. The war had scarred the land, but from the ashes, something new began to grow. Princess Ariella and Mark, once enemies, now stood together, united by a fragile hope for peace. Their alliance was more than just a plan to stop the fighting. It was a challenge to everything their worlds believed. Many saw it as a betrayal, a dangerous risk. But Ariella and Mark knew the future depended on it. In a secret meeting deep inside the ancient caves of Xandor, Ariella and Mark gathered leaders from both sides, humans and aliens who dared to dream of peace. The cave walls echoed with whispers of doubt and fear. "How can we trust each other?" asked an alien general, his voice rough with years of battle. "Trust is not easy," Ariella answered, "but if we do not try, we will destroy everything we love." Mark nodded. "We must fight not just with weapons, but with courage. The courage to change." The leaders listened, some skeptical, others hopeful. Plans were made to stop attacks, to protect innocent lives, and to share resources. But peace was a fragile flame in a storm. Outside the caves, enemies watched and waited. Spies moved through shadows, ready to strike. One night, as Ariella and Mark prepared to leave the meeting, alarms blared. The cave was under attack. Unknown forces wanted to destroy the fragile alliance before it could grow. Ariella and Mark fought through the darkness, lasers cutting through the air. Explosions shook the ground beneath them. In the chaos, Leora, the alien child who had become a symbol of hope, disappeared. Ariella's heart shattered. Without Leora, the alliance might fall apart. "We have to find her," Ariella said, voice strong despite the fear in her eyes. Mark agreed. "We won't let them win." The search took them deep into enemy territory. Every step was dangerous, every shadow a possible trap. Along the way, they uncovered a dark secret, a plan to restart the war with a weapon powerful enough to destroy both worlds. Ariella's anger burned hotter than ever. "We cannot let this happen." Mark's eyes met hers, filled with determination. "Then we stop it. Together." Their journey tested them, physically and emotionally. They faced betrayal, loss, and moments when hope seemed lost. But their bond grew stronger. Ariella learned to trust Mark not just as an ally, but as a friend. Mark saw the strength and kindness beneath the princess's armor. Finally, they found Leora, held captive in a hidden fortress. Rescuing her was not easy. Traps, guards, and danger surrounded them. But with teamwork and courage, they broke through. As they escaped, the fortress exploded behind them, sending a shockwave through the night. Safe for the moment, Ariella held Leora close. The child's small hand grasped hers, a silent promise of the future they fought for. Back at the Alliance camp, news spread of their success and the weapon's destruction. Hope sparked in the hearts of many. Yet even as peace seemed near, Ariella knew the war was not over. There were still those who hated, who feared change, and who would do anything to see the conflict continue. "We have won a battle," Ariella said to Mark, "but the war for peace has only just begun." Mark smiled, tired but hopeful, "And we will face it, side by side." From war to mercy, the dawn of a new day arrived over the planet Xandor, but the air was thick with uncertainty. The war that had torn apart worlds was far from over, and the fragile alliance between humans and aliens faced its greatest test yet. Princess Ariella stood on the highest hill, her silver armor gleaming under the rising sun. Beside her, Mark prepared his weapons, ready for the final battle that would decide their fate, and the fate of their peoples. The enemy was relentless. Warlords who refused peace gathered their forces for one last, desperate attack. They wanted to crush the alliance, destroy hope, and bring the planet back to chaos. Ariella's heart burned with fierce determination. She thought of Leora, the child who symbolized mercy, hope, and the future. She thought of her lost brother, and all the families torn apart by endless fighting. "This ends today," Ariella whispered, tightening her grip on her sword. Mark nodded. "We fight not just for victory, but for peace." The battlefield was a storm of fire and metal. Explosions rocked the ground and lasers cut through the thick smoke. Soldiers from both sides fought bravely, not as enemies but as allies united by a common goal. Ariella led the charge, her voice ringing out above the chaos. "For peace, for our future." Mark fought fiercely at her side, his bravery inspiring those around him. In the midst of battle, Ariella faced the enemy leader, a ruthless alien warlord named Draven, who had once been her mentor. His eyes were cold, filled with betrayal and anger. "You have lost your way, princess," Draven snarled. "Mercy is weakness. The strong survive by killing their enemies." Ariella stood firm. "Strength is knowing when to fight, and when to forgive." Their swords clashed, sparks flying with every strike. The fight was fierce, testing Ariella's skill and spirit. But as the battle raged, something changed. Soldiers on both sides began to hesitate, their hatred replaced by doubt. Mark saw this and shouted, "We don't have to be enemies. We can choose peace." His words echoed across the battlefield, reaching hearts hardened by war. Slowly, one by one, soldiers dropped their weapons. The fighting stopped. Draven, seeing the change, made one last attempt to strike Ariella down. But before he could, Leora stepped forward, her small voice clear and strong. "Stop," she cried. "Please, don't fight anymore." Her innocent words touched even the hardest souls. Ariella lowered her sword, tears in her eyes. "This is our chance to build a new world." Mark helped Draven to his feet. "Join us. Together, we can heal these wounds." The warlord looked around, seeing the hope in the faces of those who once fought him. With a heavy sigh, he nodded. The battle was over. In the days that followed, humans and aliens worked side by side to rebuild their world. Peace talks began and old enemies became friends. Ariella and Mark stood together watching children play in fields once burned by war. "This is what we fought for," Ariella said softly. Mark smiled. "A future built on mercy, courage, and hope." The princess who once vowed to kill every human had found a new path, one from war to mercy, and with that, a new chapter began for Xandor and beyond.